Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne and you are on Ginger Chick Rehab, where I love to take pre-loved secondhand finds from thrift stores and share the process with you all of what I do to these items to give them new life, hopefully to make them be loved again. Frames are just so stinking cute. It's hard to pass up a wood decorative, looks like a salvaged piece. Oh my gosh, the teal color. You know, you can kind of give or take, but paint can change that. So first of all, I have a wonderful idea of this, but I need to take out the glass. So it has some little metal holders that are screwed in. And then once I got this piece of paper taken off, I realized that the glass was actually hot glued in. Wasn't really what I was thinking that it was going to be, but we'll just work with it as it is. But of course that paper was like, no, I'm going to go ahead and stay on here. So I'm going to use a little bit of lemon oil to get the rest of that paper off. That should release the sticky or whatever is holding this on. And while the lemon oil is doing what it needs to do, I'm going to go ahead and remove these screws, these hangers. I'll probably reuse them, probably straighten them out, but we're going to get them taken off so I can paint the back of this easier. I really did want to take this glass out, so very gingerly, one of the sides was already loose. It's just hot glue, so it wasn't too bad just to very gingerly pop out. So the piece has holes, as you see, that were drilled into the scalloped areas, and now the holes were drilled into the front and then pushed out the back, but they were left kind of raw enough that you could actually get a splinter from them. So I'm going to go ahead and sand that to make sure that it's safe. The scallops are all uneven. I think this may have been a handmade piece. If I was to guess, it's super cute. But I'm going to go ahead and sand the entire thing to prep it for my paint. I think I'm very careful. I can take my scraping tool, razor, and razor off that hot glue off the glass. So now to paint this, I'm going to paint it with Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in the flour sack, keeping with that distressed look that the teal already has going on. So Sweet Pickins Milk Paint is a powder paint that you mix in with water. So it's equal parts powder to equal parts water. You stir it for 2 minutes, it aerates, it gets nice and bubbly sometimes. It's kind of unpredictable. And then you let it sit off to the side for 2 to 10 minutes until it thickens up a bit. I did say that I was going to paint both sides of this, especially since I need to do that inner area where it's countersunk into the wood for the frame and the glass. I feel it will just look better if I paint the entire thing. So front and back, 2 coats. Frame, all it had was the glass and a piece of paper, which was not thick enough, and that's why they had to bend the hardware that they're using to keep the glass in there. They had to bend it in a downward motion. So I'm going to add a piece of cardboard. So all I'm doing is just cut up a piece of cardboard box. I might have a few just laying around. And I'm just going to trace around the glass, set the glass. I'm always nervous about glass because I don't want to have to like replace glass for a small little frame. So safely set it onto a towel. And now I'm just going to take an X-Acto knife and a ruler to make a straight cut. You see, I have some dried, smashed, flattened baby's breath that I'm going to use as florals, but I need a backing paper, so I have a piece of music sheet It is bright white. It is beautiful. The white will go with the beautiful of the white frame, newly painted frame. But I need to cut this out. So I'm just going to take the glass, center it. So I have all the yummy music notes. And then same thing, trace around it and cut it out. And I'm just going to go ahead and use some double stick tape to hold the paper onto the piece of cardboard. Now, isn't that white just beautiful? So I didn't prime this, I didn't shellac this or anything to prevent the paint from just soaking into this raw wood. So I don't really have any cracking or crazing or chippiness going on. The paint just soaked in. So I'm going back through with some 220 sandpaper. I'm distressing it. I'm getting those sharp edges. I'm hoping that some of the teal comes through because I was matching that up to the baby's breath stems. I thought that would really accent this piece really nice. So yep, just gonna go ahead, sand away until I get it to show enough of the wood, enough of the distressing that I like it. The thing that attracted me to this frame was that perfectly imperfect of the scallops, that homemade piece. So now I need to seal in my milk cake, and I'm just using some Homestead clear wax that is still made by the Fusion Company, and you can get all the Fusion and Homestead wax supplies that you need from Bonda's store, the Painted Heirloom. And if you're a first-time buyer, there is a Ginger Chick code for 10% off for first-time buyers. So I just absolutely love that these are already flattened. They are beautiful. They've held their color. Now, there's a lot of them in this little package. So I'm going to take some tweezers, some needle nose tweezers, to grab them to be able to move them onto the music sheet. And I'll just play around until it is pleasing to my eye and I like it. Little trial and error with the sizes, and one's tall, one's shorter, whatever. It's kind of like whatever works, you just kind of play with it until you love it. I decided it would be okay if I had and made some shorter that hung underneath, like where the paper and the frame were, because I can just snip those off so I have some covering some of those stems. So now I just need to put it back inside the frame. Now it's a little bit more flatter on the back, so all I did was have to bend these little pieces of metal, screw them back in, and we just need to add a hanging system to this in case somebody wants to hang it up. The beginning of the video, how many of you thought I was going to show you how to make this little stand? No, I thrifted it. Oh, I love it. Not the color so much, and nor the brokenness. So, you know, there's always a reason. It's whether it was donated broken or whether it broke when it was donated. It doesn't matter. I know I can fix it. So I'm just going to be using some of the Starbond CA glue. Love this stuff. I don't have to take it apart. I don't have to clamp it. I don't have to wait for any time. Well, a little bit of time, but not like forever. So Starbond glue is a liquid. So you just use the liquid, put it in where the crack is, and then it has an activator. So then you spray the activator, and like 15 seconds it is dry. So I can build it up. I can fill in any gap if it's not a complete match, and I can sand it. So this stuff is awesome stuff, and I always recommend having it in your arsenal. And I get this at Amazon. It is well worth the investment. It goes a long way. I don't even know if I go through one bottle in a year period. Then the 15 seconds, it is dry and you can start sanding on it. And when I started to sand on it, I'm like, what is this piece of paper? What is that? Oh my gosh, somebody glued this candlestick probably right on top of a sticker. And so my pet peeve of painting over stickers, here I am trying to scrape off a little corner of a sticker that you can see because I can see it and I know somebody else will be able to see it. And then I'll go on trying to sand this nice and smooth. You know how that is. We all got one thing. We got something, or maybe more than one thing, that just bothers us. And this is my thing. Now that I made that job harder than it should have been, I'm just cleaning this off with some Dawn dish soap and some hot water. The thing about shopping the thrift stores or shopping secondhand is sometimes it's not that difficult of a flip. It's adding flowers, it's changing the paint color. Okay, there was a little bit of fixing to do here, but minimal. Most of the time, it's just changing the paint color to what is visually appealing to your eye, what you like. So I'm just going to be painting this. I would like this to be a little Bible holder. So I would like just to paint this simple black. So Fusion Cold Black, perfect because there's primer paint and top coat all in one. And I'm thinking that probably one coat will be good with this piece. Isn't very many times when you paint that one coat is enough, but with Fusion, my gosh, that coverage is amazing. So now I'm going back in, and I know I like to distress a piece. I just love to bring out the details, all that beautiful detail in these that has been routed in. It's just gorgeous. So I like to show it off if I can. So just 220 sandpaper, just making sure that I'm sanding everything kind of smooth and bringing out those beautiful details to add some age. I like to go back in with steel wool, the finest steel wool that there is, the 4-0 steel wool, and just smooth down those edges. A lot of times because the Fusion paint is so nice, it's a little bit on the thicker side, so you'll get that kind of gummy area because this is like, you know, with an hour of painting, I'm already sanding it. And so the steel wool just tones it down and makes it a little bit more smooth. So now that I've sanded this piece to distress it, I need to go back in and seal that in just to make it have a nice smooth texture. And I'm just going to use some of the Jolie's black wax. A bird cage on a riser type candlestick. Yes, please. I have made these out of candlesticks and just bird cage tops before, but being able to find a 2-in-1, awesome. These are just amazing to make over. This is metal, so I'm not really having any pre-sanding to do other than I need to wipe it down. And as I'm just washing it off with some Dawn dish soap and some hot water, their patina, the white patina, is just wiping right off. Well, that was interesting, but now I'm going to spray this. I'm using Rust-Oleum's enamel paint in a flat white color to cover up all this gray. So I'll have to hit it at a couple different angles to make sure that I get everything covered. How appropriate is it to do birdie, milk paint to go on the outside of the candle bird cage holder. So yes, I did say the outside. I'm just going to be painting the outside. So equal parts dry powder to equal parts water. Stir for 2 minutes, set it off to the side, let it thicken up a bit before painting. Yes, I want to keep the inside of this that nice white that I painted it, but I do want to add color to the outside. So I'm making sure when I'm putting paint on my brush, there's not a ton of paint. I'm kind of dry brushing it on. I can do multiple coats, but I just don't want it leaking through all those little holes, especially in the detailed areas. To put in our bird cage, we're going to use some of the Dollar General bluebirds, but I'm not going to keep them blue. We're going to go ahead and paint these, but I got to get this dollar, gotta love it, $1 price sticker off. Now, I picked these up last year, and I'm pretty sure that they have them again this year. So sometimes that tag just doesn't want to come off, so I'll use a little bit of lemon oil on the bottom of the birds to get the rest of that tag to release. And then if I want my paint to stick, I better get that washed off. You know, it's kind of hard to wash these little texture birds off, but I definitely want to wash off those bottoms where I put some lemon oil or the paint will not stick whatsoever. To go with the white in the inside of the bird cage, we're going to paint the birds white using that same white Rust-Oleum enamel paint to cover them up. And this, just like the bird cage, I'll have to flip them and flop them to make sure that I got every angle once one side is dry. I thought it would be fun to change these little Dollar General birds up a little bit by adding some tail feathers. So I have some feathers that I used previously on a project, and there ended up being a lot of feathers in this little package, kind of like the dried flowers earlier. But yeah, so we're just going to make some fluffy tails. Doesn't have to be a broken tail. This is a great way to fix a broken tail, though. So I thought I was going to have to cut them, but don't cut them because they just end up falling apart. Learn from my mistakes of what not to do. So it's better off just to put the hot glue on the bird's tail itself and then glue the feather to it. Is that not gorgeous? Oh my gosh, I just absolutely love it. White bird, white feathers. Awesome. So I'm going to glue them to the top, and then I'm also going to glue them to the bottom to make a full tail. So see, I had a reason for wanting to keep the inside of this white, but I do need to add a little candlestick riser. So on these birds of the Dollar General, you have one that's looking straight and then one that has a head tilt. So I tried to pick the two different birds. And so I'm just going to glue that little candlestick riser that I thrifted. I think there was like a pack of 3 or 5 or something like that. Just to the bottom. You're not really going to see it because I'm going to cover it up with some greenery. And then I'll glue the little birdies in there also. And then probably the hardest part is putting the cage on now. I won't really be able to glue the cage down. It'll just be what it's going to be. But yes, I needed to weave the little tails into the cage without taking them off. So the little picking tool from the Dollar Tree came in handy. A lot better than what the scissors were working. They were a little bit sharp. I didn't want to break those feathers. But yes, just picking them out once I got them in with that Dollar Dollar Tree picking tool, like the Cricut picking weeding tool. Gosh, I'm in love with the tail sticking out of this cage, and I'm glad I kept the inside of it white. So now I'm just going to be adding some of the greenery in. Like, okay, that is way too big a stem. So I'm going to have to cut down individual stems and just kind of place them in there. That pop of green against that bright white in the inside. I don't want there to be so much greenery that it's overpowering and you don't see the birds. So yes, I will cut it down a lot more than what that little stem is. Way too much there. You know, we kind of all learn. But then I'm like, hold on, I got so excited about doing the birds and putting them in there that I forgot to wax and seal in my milk paint. Hey, you'll have that. So I planned on just doing the clear wax on this anyway. I didn't want to change the color. Yep, I needed to seal that milk paint in. So I'm just kind of stuffing my greenery in there. I am not hot gluing it. I planned on hot gluing it, but I just felt like I might get the glue and make it a mess trying to just stick little individual stems in there. So they're kind of being weaved in between each other and tucked in with the birds. So I feel like it's nice and tight. I don't feel like unless you really pulled on it, it would come out. When you know, you just know. I just felt like, okay, I've got some fancy birds here. The birdie color is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like we need a little pizzazz. So I'm just using some of this wax, just fingertipping it on. It's sea glass. It's going to be a little bit on the shiny side, just hitting some of those detailed areas. I think it'll just give it that pop to go with the feathers that makes it a little bit fancier. If I had all the time in the world, I would go back through my videos and I would count how many times I've made over the home interior candelabra. A lot. A lot. So, and I actually, this is one of 4, I think, in my inventory that needs to be done. So I'm like, I probably should get one of these done. So, yep, it was a Goodwill find, and I'm going to go ahead and take off that Goodwill sticker. And somebody actually already patinaed the metal pieces. So you can see those are usually black. So they are rusty crusty, which of course it's a candelabra, so it's cool anyway, but rusty crusty really had my heart. So took me down a different path. So first they had some type of a candle in here that had a rubber insert that has disintegrated and is stuck inside. So I'm just taking an X-Acto knife and removing that dried up rubber pieces. And since this is like my millionth one, I might give a few 1,000 here and there. But yeah, definitely not that many. But I've always painted them chippy white and they've always sold. But Rusty Crusty, you know I'm a Rusty Crusty girl, regular viewers, that I could not help myself, that I'm going to take the time to sand the shininess off this piece so that I can make this whole candelabra Rusty Crusty. I've never done that to a candelabra like this before. I've done it to wood, and it does turn out beautiful. That Dixie Belle patina doesn't care if it's wood or metal. Yeah, I know rust, wood doesn't rust, but we can fake it. So I'm going to go in and try to sand as much of this that I possibly can. It really wasn't as bad to sand as one might think. So now I'm just cleaning it off with some Dawn dish soap and some hot water. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with Prime Start, which is the Dixie Belle Patina Primer. And a lot of times I use it as an accent color. So I'm going to go through, I'm not looking for total coverage at all. What I'm looking for is just to get it on, just get spots on, look for that background of that reddish color that it is, just using a paintbrush, waxing brush actually, that's a little bit flared out, or I'm helping it flare out, to go ahead and do a dabbing motion, because I feel like rust is raised and bumpy. It's not smooth like a paintbrush stroke. So I'll just go through and dab it on. Even the metal that's already been patina, I want my patina to all match. The patina on there just was my motivation to do this. You can tell that that Prime Start soaked into that raw wood since I sanded it. That was worth the time. So now I'm going in, same brush, I'm going to use the same brush, it doesn't matter, it's going right on top of each other. My Prime Start is dry, and I'm going in with some of the patina in the iron, which is the one that makes that rusty, crusty goodness, that red-brown rust color. And I am dabbing off my brush on my board. I don't want there to be an overabundance of paint. Kind of like a dry brush technique. I don't want it running or anything like that. There's a lot of like angles to this piece by doing it this way. So the dry brush technique seems to be working out just fine. If you noticed, there's 5 spots for a candle, and the very top one is missing the metal insert. But I thought, with it being rusty crusty, this is going to look like a salvage piece. Now, if one of the 4 bottom ones was missing, I'd probably just take them all out. But I just chose just to leave it as is. So now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start spraying it. And I'm flipping it upside down so I can get that bottom area first. So I'm just using the misting setting of the green patina spray first. And this is why my iron paint is still wet. I'll very gingerly flip it back over and do another misting on the top. Try not to oversaturate it, that the patina liquid part is going to run too awful much. So now that I've got the mist on, right immediately I'm going to take like the squirt mode of the blue patina and just do a little baby squirt, just in random places that I think, like if it was left out in the weather, it would just, the rain would hit it. Cannot believe how amazing this turned out. Look at that. You would think this was a metal piece, wouldn't you all? But I do need to seal it in because it will rub off. So I'm just using a little bit of weather defense to make sure everything is sealed in. It is gorgeous. I very seldom pass up little cabinets like this. Such a great, useful piece. Usually semi-easy to make over. This was a hand-painted piece. We're going to have to sand that off and then just give it new life by just adding a fun paint color to it. As I'm sanding away, I'm like, oh yeah, right, there were holes. Somebody had attached this probably to the wall, screwing it from the inside. So I want to go ahead and do my best to fill in the holes. So I'm just putting a little piece of tape on the back side, and then I'll flip it on into the, so I can get to the holes from the inside, and just use a little bit of spackling to fill in those holes. Now that spackling, since it's so thin, it shouldn't take too awful long to dry, so I can proceed on sanding the rest of the piece, and then it should be dry. But I'm using my mouse sander for some of this detailed areas. I'm not sure if it's showing up on camera, but the paint has a very shiny top coat to it that I definitely want to make sure that I get sanded, scuff sanded, so my paint that I want to change the color to will adhere. Now I got the inside sanded along with where I spackled, but I do need to do some shellac, especially where that spackling was, because if I paint over it, you're probably just going to see it because the porosity is not evened out. And then since I couldn't really get all of that paint off, I think it's all nice and smooth. I just want to make sure that I seal everything in with a couple coats of shellac. Oh yes, we are going totally opposite. For as white as this is, I am doing a dark green. Oh, is that not a gorgeous, wonderful bayberry color by Fusion? Love this stuff. So Fusion paint, primer, top coat all in one. So we'll be good to go. Now, when it comes to like this kind of area that I could not remove the door just the way that it's built in with pegs, I want to make sure that I'm doing thin coats. And the nice thing about Fusion is Fusion likes to be put on with thin coats because a little bit of paint goes a long way. So I didn't plan on painting the entire piece using a fan brush, but once I started to do around the outer edges anyway, I just proceeded on using the same brush. I just always like to make my pieces look finished. So inside, back, the whole. I probably could have gone back with a little bit of spackle on the back, but you know, I was already in the motion of painting. At least painting it would make it look better, and the inside looks so much better not seeing those holes. So 2 coats on the body. Now I can finally close the door and I can get that painted. I thought about removing the knob, but the last time I removed a knob like that was screwed in, I can tell that it's glued on. I might cause a little bit more problems like breaking the wood. So I decided, since it wasn't just an easy screw off, I was going to leave it right where it was. Now, if you're a fan of the clean paint, no distressing, you could have just stopped right here because it's already got Fusion already has top coat in it. But I like distressing. I like to bring out this piece has a lot of details that you didn't really see when it was just the plain white. So I thought maybe steel wool would work, but the paint is so good, y'all. You want it to be good that I needed to switch over to a 220. And I know that it's going to be the white that you're going to see, but I'm okay with that because I want you to see those beautiful detailed edges. So yep, sandpaper on a sharp edge, this is what it'll do. It'll show the edge. And then I'll go ahead and sand the rest of the piece, making sure that everything's nice and smooth because I am going to add some colored wax. I'll just use the assistance of my air compressor to make sure that all the sandy dust is all the way out, especially in the inside, and then we'll take some of the Fusion's black wax onto the piece, hoping that it'll stick into some of the detailed areas, that inlay in the front, the layers of molding on the top. Oh, be still my heart. It is just going to take this bayberry paint and just richen it up. So wax on and then wipe off the excess. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and what did you think? Have I inspired you to go out thrifting, looking for secondhand finds that just need a little bit more love? Or maybe you even have items laying around your own home that you're just kind of, you know, I'm kind of tired of that. Let's get it out. Let's get some paint on it and change the way that it looks. So thanks again for watching today's video. And as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you are new and you're checking out this channel for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.